Early in the morning, as the first rays of sunlight illuminated the vast expanse of Tanzania's Serengeti National Park, the savanna came alive. The dew-covered grass glistened like a scattering of diamonds, and the fresh scent of acacia trees wafted through the air. Hyenas could be heard in the distance, and herds of antelopes were already beginning their journey to the watering hole. In the center of this living world was a pride of lions resting under a spreading baobab tree. Among them stood out a young lion named Simba, powerful, with a thick golden mane and a curious look that always beckoned him to adventure. Simba wasn't the kind of lion who preferred to lie lazily in the shadows. His adventurous soul called him to explore new corners of the savannah, even if it meant temporarily leaving the pride. The reserve rangers tracked him through a GPS collar attached to his neck. The device, lightweight and almost invisible to the lion, allowed them to track his movements and make sure he wasn't in trouble. But this morning, Simba was about to go where even the most experienced rangers couldn't predict events. That day, Simba woke up with an inexplicable desire to go to a distant hill where there was an old, massive mango tree overlooking a dried-up riverbed. Its crown, thick and dark green, beckoned with mystery. Simba, smelling ripe fruit, decided that this was the perfect place to look around from above. He rose gracefully, stretched his sharp claws, and without looking back at the sleeping pride, headed toward his goal. On the way, he crossed a path where zebras had recently passed, their tracks still fresh in the soft earth. Hornbills chirped in the branches, and somewhere in the distance was the low growl of another lion, perhaps from a neighboring pride. But Simba was focused. The mango tree, like a beacon, attracted him. As he got closer, he noticed the sunlight filtering through the dense foliage, creating a mesmerizing play of light and shadow. It was the perfect place to explore. Simba approached the tree trunk, his muscular paws treading softly on the dry grass. He raised his head, gauging the height. The tree was old, with knotty bark that promised a secure grip for his claws. The lion decided to climb up so he could view the savannah from above. With a dexterity unique to felines, he began his ascent, digging his claws into the bark. The leaves rustled against his golden fur, and the branches creaked slightly under his weight. Reaching one of the thick branches, Simba stopped to look around. The view was spectacular. The savannah stretched to the horizon, where the sky merged with the ground in a haze. But at that moment, a strange humming sound caught his attention. Turning his head, he noticed a dark spot in the hollow of a branch, a huge beehive hidden in the shadows of the foliage. Curiosity got the best of him, and Simba reached out with his paw for a closer look. Suddenly there was a loud cracking sound. The beehive, disturbed by the lion's movement, snapped off a branch and tumbled downward, crashing against the trunk. Thousands of angry bees burst forth like a black cloud filled with angry buzzing. Simba froze, but it was too late. The bees that had lost their home descended upon him, attacking his muzzle, mane, and body. Each sting was like a red-hot needle digging into his skin. The lion roared in pain, trying to swing his paws away, but it only made the swarm more angry. Panic gripped Simba. He tried to climb down from the tree, but the bees covered him thickly, their stings digging deeper. In desperation, he jumped from the branch, landing on the soft earth with a thud, but the bees kept up, their black silhouettes swirling around him like a living nightmare. Simba rolled around in the grass, trying to shake off the swarm, but that only increased their fury. His growls of pain echoed across the savannah, frightening the birds and small animals nearby. Blinded by pain, Simba rushed to a small body of water he spotted nearby. He plunged into the murky water, hoping the mud and moisture would scare away the bees. He shook his head, trying to free his mane, but the bees clung to his fur, continuing to sting. His strength melted, and the stinging from the stings spread throughout his body. Simba, normally so majestic and strong, now looked pathetic, covered in dirt and swarming with insects. Meanwhile, at the reserve's control center, rangers were monitoring data from Simba's GPS collar. The screen showed that the lion had stopped in one place for too long, unusual behavior for such an active animal. The head ranger, Amina, a woman with years of experience in the Serengeti, frowned. "This doesn't look like Simba," she said, looking at the map. She immediately assembled a team to check it out. A group of 5 rangers, including a veterinarian named Joseph and an insect specialist named Layla, got into 2 SUVs and headed for Simba's coordinates. Over the radio, they discussed possible scenarios: poacher attack, injury, or perhaps an encounter with another predator. But no one expected what they would see. Arriving at the site, the rangers stopped at a safe distance. A shocking picture was revealed before them. Simba, covered in mud, lay in a body of water, his body strewn with black specks of bees. His faint growls came to them, and it was clear that the lion was on the verge of exhaustion. Amina quickly assessed the situation and gave the order: "We need a plan, and fast. Simba is in danger." The team split into 2 groups. The first, led by Layla, was to use smoke bombs to disorient the bee. The second, led by Joseph, was preparing to approach Simba to remove the bees and administer first aid. The rangers donned protective suits, masks, and thick gloves, knowing that the slightest mistake could result in the swarm attacking themselves. Layla turned on the smoke devices, and soon thick white smoke enveloped the reservoir. The bees began to scurry about, their buzzing less organized. Some flew away, but many still clung to Simba's fur. The second group slowly approached the lion. Joseph, with care, began to remove the bees from Simba's mane, using special tongs and gloves. Each movement was precise, so as not to harm the weakened lion. The bees removed from Simba's body were placed in special containers to prevent them from returning. The work was slow and strenuous. The buzzing of the bees filled the air and sweat dripped down the faces of the rangers under their protective masks. Simba, racked with pain, lay almost motionless, only occasionally emitting faint moan. After most of the bees had been removed, Joseph proceeded with the examination. Simba's skin was covered with swollen red spots from the bites, especially on his muzzle and neck. The veterinarian injected the lion with an injection of painkiller and antihistamine. To reduce the swelling, the team continued to use smoke to keep the remaining bees at bay. The next step was to thoroughly clean the wounds. The rangers used an antiseptic solution to wash the affected areas, and then applied a soothing ointment. Simba, though weakened, began to respond to the treatment. His breathing became more even and his moans subsided. Amina hooked up a nutrient drip to help the lion recover from dehydration and stress. After an hour of hard work, the rangers noticed that Simba began to move. He slowly raised his head. His eyes, still cloudy with pain, looked at the humans with something akin to gratitude. The team brought in a few pieces of fresh meat, which they always kept on hand for such occasions. The smell of food awakened Simba's instincts, and he began to eat, albeit tentatively, gnawing greedily into the meat. The rangers breathed a sigh of relief. "He'll be fine," Amina said as she watched Simba slowly come back to life. They decided it was time to bring him back to the pride. But before they did, they needed to make sure he was strong enough. One of the rangers, a young boy named Karim, offered to help Simba up. The 2 of them and Joseph carefully supported the lion until he stood on all 4 legs. Simba was loaded onto the platform of a special truck designed for the transportation of large animals. The road to the Pride grounds led through dusty savanna trails, where the silhouettes of antelope and giraffe flashed every now and then. The GPS collar confirmed that the Pride was not far away, in the shade of a group of acacia trees. Along the way, the rangers discussed how Simba would be received by his kin after such an ordeal. Lions are social animals, but sometimes injuries can make them vulnerable in the eyes of the Pride. When the truck came to a stop, Amina opened the back door. Simba, still weak but now more confident, jumped to the ground. He lifted his head, taking in the familiar scent of the Pride parade. In the distance, the silhouettes of lionesses and young lions lounged lazily under the trees. When he saw Simba, one of the lionesses gave a low growl as if to greet him. Simba slowly moved forward, his steps becoming firmer and firmer. The Pride accepted him without aggression. 2 lionesses came closer, sniffing him and lightly touching his mane with their muzzles, as if checking if he was all right. A young lion, probably Simba's brother, nudged him playfully with his shoulder. The rangers watched from afar, ready to intervene, but it didn't take. Simba was home. Amina logged Simba's condition, noting that he would need to be monitored for a few days to make sure he was fully recovered. The team returned to the control center, discussing over the radio how they had managed to save one of the Serengeti's most colorful inhabitants. The story of Simba encountering the bees was a reminder of how unpredictable nature is, and how important the work of the rangers is. Simba, now part of his pride again, became a symbol of resilience. His adventure, full of pain and struggle, showed that even the king of the savannah can face unexpected challenges. But thanks to human care and the strength of the lion himself, he returned to his family, ready to continue his exploration of the vast expanse of the Serengeti. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Your attention and support helps us to tell more of these stories about life in the wilderness, its heroes and defenders. See you soon.